One more thing I want to touch on about being a person of prayer, and a thing that has helped me over the years, is there's people in our church that I would call intercessors. And you know what that is probably, and if you don't, it might be a new term, but just people that in your church that are mature in their faith and they pray. Hopefully there's prayer meetings at some point during the week at your church, and getting around people that pray is powerful. And there's many times where even during dry times in my walk with the Lord, I found great strength in just showing up. I would just show up in the back of a prayer meeting, and I'd bring my journal, and I'll touch on this later with songwriting, but I would just sit in the back and just hearing people call out to the Lord, hearing people pray, really began to prime the pump of my own heart. And if my heart was feeling dry, and and other times I wasn't dry, but I just knew that, man, I need to make this a discipline in my life. So I would say plug into that. And there might be a church across town that maybe they're a little bit different, maybe they're super demonstrative in their prayers and they're super charismatic, and maybe you're not. But man, go to some other prayer meetings. Just check out some other churches. Be willing to just kind of slip in the back and kind of hear the hearts of people praying. It's a powerful thing. And it might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but that's all right. Just hear that. And I've gleaned so much from that over the years. Just where our church is, we're down the street from a ministry called Teen Mania. And there's hundreds of, 20-somethings, young kids that are just passionate for the Lord and just on fire for God. And many times I'll just kind of slip in the back and just hear them pray. And man, it'll just inspire me to tears and to joy. And I'm just, before I know it, I'm like, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. And a lot of times I'll take out my pen and I'll start writing some things they're saying in my journal. And or then there's a YWAM, Youth with a Mission prayer meeting. And again, just people of all ages there. But, sometimes you just hear an older guy in the faith who's been faithful for 40 years, and him just to stand up and just through tears just say, oh God, we call on your name and we fall upon your mercy, and we ask you, God, send revival and just breathe on our congregation and breathe new life. And it's just over the years that has just inspired me in my worship leading, in my songwriting, in my just personal walk with the Lord. So I just encourage you, those are two things that we talked about: person of the word, person of prayer.
I don't play an instrument very well. I finally learned to play in the key of C on the piano, which is all the white keys. Don't tell anyone. But just because there are times that you want to just be able to play something, or just to have that time with the Lord where you're just playing and not speaking, and maybe even just praying over what you're playing. But I hear the Lord sometimes even ask me, would you just sit? Just get away from that. Quit doing. I think we're really good at doing worship, not just worshiping, if you know what I mean. And it can be kind of a dangerous thing for us. And so I try to be really sensitive to the Lord when it comes to my quiet time and my private time before the Lord. Something, too, that might help you, I have a room that's designated just for meeting with the Lord. I will not allow myself to take my phone in there, or my computer, or anything that would distract me from just time with the Lord. And I will tell you, it's the hardest thing. I've had many, many opportunities to think I should turn that into a workout room, or I should, it'd be okay if that was an office too, but I feel such a thing from the Lord to just protect that space. And maybe you don't have a whole room to designate for that, but maybe a chair, or just a specific area that when you go to that place, you're going to meet with the Lord. It means business with the Lord. And another thing, too, I always have a journal. And I'm real particular or specific about my journals. I don't like journals with lines on them. I don't know why. I feel like it keeps me fenced in, or I'm having to not be creative because I have to keep it orderly. So I get one without lines on it, just so I can if I feel like drawing, or if I feel like just writing a real big word on there. And sometimes it just says hope, and it's just one page just says that. Or you've got to have these places and these moments where you don't have to have rules. It's just between you and the Lord. You're getting to be creative, you're just worshiping, and you're getting to have that time between you and God that nobody else gets to have a say of what's happening. I think it's important to guard that, to protect that, to have that for yourself. And for example, the other day I went into my room and shut the door, and I was just sitting there quietly before the Lord, and I felt this theme in my heart of, I will be still and wait upon the Lord. And immediately I heard a melody, and so I just started humming and singing, and I'll just sing it for you. It was, I will be still and wait upon the Lord. And it was interesting because as soon as I started singing that, my spirit man just lined up with that. And I started thinking about how important it is just that we sing and worship by ourselves, not just in front of people. And so I just kept singing it. I will be still and wait upon the Lord, for he hears me when I pray, and he comes to fill my day. I will be still and wait upon the Lord. There was just this moment, and I just thought, Lord, I need to come in here more often. You know, I think the enemy steals from us so often to get us so busy that we don't have time to just be. And then those are the moments that keep us doing what we're doing, you know, and maybe that's a song. I don't know. Maybe you'll hear that song eventually, but it's just cool. You got to do that.
Now, I want to shift gears. The other thing I mentioned was if there was, you know, if I had to just encapsulate or summarize or give a synopsis of just the two primary, almost like a seesaw, things that I would focus on in trying to grow as a worship leader or someone that's part of a worship team, and that is cultivating a devotional heart through prayer and the Word and fellowship and staying plugged into a healthy church, you know. And the other thing is cultivating your primary skill, the thing that God has called you to do. It says in 1 Chronicles that all the musicians were trained and skilled in music for the Lord. I mean, I won't turn there right now, but in 1 Chronicles, it says all of the musicians, not the ones that felt like it, not just the young ones, but even the ones that had been doing this a while. You know, they found a way to continue cultivating their skill. So I just challenge you with that. Psalm 33:3, play skillfully. It says, sing a new song to the Lord. Play skillfully and shout for joy. There it is again, play skillfully. But I love Chronicles where it says they were trained and skilled in music for the Lord. I just love how that, you know, there's no shame and no crime, and it's not unspiritual for you to sit down with your metronome and be practicing your scales and practicing these songs that you already know, but working to either a drum machine or a time, some kind of a time thing. Play the songs you know and begin memorizing these songs. Get them off of the songbook into your heart. So again, you know, make a commitment to be trained and skilled in music for the Lord. I love that at the end. It just says, we yield that. So your primary, cultivating your primary thing, whatever that is, guitar playing, singing, being a drummer, bass player, whatever your particular thing is, cultivating. So it's like a seesaw. You know, there's some people, they have such a beautiful heart for the Lord, but they never practice their instrument. And so they come out and you just I so appreciate that person. And yet, man, they just can't make those chord changes and it becomes a distraction. And then you have other people that are just super talented, fragilistic you know, just super amazingly talented, but they never spend any time in the Word, and there's no kind of prayerful thing, and it's like they're up there skillfully kind of getting through the songs, but there's something that I'm not getting from their spirit, you know, I'm not connecting, and I'm, without trying to be judgmental or judging people, you just kind of go, wow, really talented. So again, it's this almost seesaw of cultivating your heart, cultivating your skill. Just quick story. I mean, back in the day, before I was even born again, I was in club bands in my high school years, and we used to play, you know, weddings and clubs, and we had to memorize, you know, 50, 60 songs in certain keys. And so if someone came up and said, hey, do you guys know Ain't Too Proud to Beg? And we'd be like, yes, yeah, sure. Ready, guys? Key of C. Ain't too proud to brag. 1, 2, boom. I know you want to leave me. I refuse to let you go. And it was like you had to just memorize this stuff. And a lot of our choruses, they could be memorized. They're pretty simple. They're 4 or 5 chords many times. So get them off the page, get them in your heart, make it a discipline to practice that. The other thing is just making a commitment to what your primary skill is. when I was part of a band. I just remember it was kind of all for one for all. Man, my first year of marriage, even after I was born again, first year of marriage, my wife was working during the day and I was playing like these dinner clubs at night, playing top 40 and oldies. And man, you had to show up or the other 3 guys in the band weren't going to make their $50. And then you couldn't pay your rent at the end of the week. So we would do 4 one-hour sets, and I just remember having to get my wisdom teeth taken out. And, all 4 wisdom teeth taken out and, completely drugged up. And then my wife drove me to the little supper club we were playing that, and my band propped me up in a chair, and I had my electric guitar, and my cheeks were out to this, but I played my parts because it's like, dude, unless you're dead, you have to show up. I mean, that was the mentality. It's like all for one and one for all. And yet, I got folks on my worship team over the years, they'll call 7:30 that Sunday morning and be like, I've got a little cough. I don't know if I can make worship this morning. I'm being kind of mean, sorry, but it kind of bugs me a little bit. I feel like saying, dude, do you have a pulse? Okay, well then be there, man. I mean, that's mean and I don't say that. But like in my head, I just compare it to the world, man. The world, they're pretty serious about excellence and practicing and committing, making a commitment to their own personal improvement as well as commitment to a band and a team. And it doesn't mean you can never show up. It doesn't mean you can't call in sick ever. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm just trying to give some kind of frame of reference that, man, if the world's willing to do that, how much more should we say, man, I'm committed. I'm committed. There might be a season where you guys rehearse not just Sunday mornings for 15 minutes, but you say, you know what, for the next 3 months, let's practice Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and let's really become a team. Let's be good at, cultivate this as well as cultivating our heart.